you guys stay safe out there. We call this improvisation because we are doing in full Zoom, in the link, on the breeze. A new way of doing things. And of course, you might have heard earlier that one of our colleagues at KWAM News has tested positive for the COVID virus. So obviously, I'm conducting these interviews from home, and we will be doing so for at least for me, for at least a couple of weeks until I get the test and it comes out. Hopefully it comes out negative, but I'm not feeling any symptoms except for a little anxiety as I await the test to take the test. But anyway, so this is In Full Zoom. Thank you for joining us. And I'd like to introduce our guests this morning, all from the Chamber of Commerce. And obviously, they've taken a strong position regarding the governor's declaration of PCOR1. So first of all, let me introduce Christine Boleto of Docomo Pacific, who is also the chairperson of the chamber. We have Jeff Jones of Triple J. Good morning, and Jeff Jones of Triple J Enterprise, of course. Morning. We also have Monty Mesa of Guam Premier Outlets, Jay Dewan of Puerto Boca, and John Titano of Java Junction. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Good morning.
Thank you, Nestor.
Okay.
Good morning.
Okay, this is going to be a little unwieldy because we have a lot of guests, but we'll work our way through this. Let me start with you, Christine. If you can make an opening statement with regard to the governor's declaration of PCOR1, because I think that's what we're here to talk about this morning, and how that has, in the chamber's mind, affected business on Guam.
Yes, of course, Nestor. You know, I was actually on Kristen Bree's show Friday, basically communicating the hope above all hopes that we would not be resorted to PCOR1. The governor has made that decision. And as the chamber has repeatedly said, we understand that health and public safety is of the utmost priority when it comes to our community. However, as we continue to push, for a balanced approach, one of the things that I relayed is that we had triggers in place that called for a certain percentage. Initially, if you look way back, they said 10%. Then it moved to 5%. Now we're at 3%. We talked about hospitalization and resorting to critical care. Yes, the hospital numbers are increasing and we are very concerned, but as a community, especially as a business community, a lot of these businesses have taken great responsibility. What you folks are doing right now, shutting down, getting tested, reaffirming the safety protocols within your establishment, those are all the things that many businesses have done to protect their employees, to protect their customers, and to protect the community. And it's unfortunate that there's these clusters or spikes that are, negatively reflecting on the whole of the community that, for the most part, is trying and doing a good job with it. And so, we've stated our position, and I asked the other gentleman on the Zoom call to join me so that you can hear the different perspectives, both from small businesses and large businesses being affected by the shutdown, and keeping in mind every single business that closes, every single business that's affected means employees in these establishments, that their livelihood, their ability to pay for food, to pay for their rent, and to pay for their sustenance is being compromised. And so again, we're really concerned, and thank you to everyone else who's on this call and agreed to join me here.
Okay, before we get to the rest of the panel, let me just read something from that the governor sent out in response to the chamber so that we can get their reaction to that. So this is what she sent out in response to a chamber statement. I declared pandemic condition of readiness 1 to save lives now and protect livelihoods in the long run. Though we can rebuild our economy after a short time in PCOR1, no one will shop in our stores or stay in our hotels. If doing so will likely infect them with COVID-19. If our community is sick, we will have nothing more than a sick economy. Unfortunately, the chamber's statements are based on the wrong data. While it is true that our test positivity rate over the life of this pandemic is 1.8%, over the past 7 days alone, Guam's test positivity rate for COVID-19 has nearly doubled from 1.8% to 3.2% respectively. In just this month, we confirmed 146 new cases of COVID-19. This alone represents 29% of our confirmed cases since March, evidence that we are worse off than the beginning of our pandemic. Of greater concern is Guam's hospitalization rate for COVID-19. While our hospitalization rate remains stable at just 2 to 3 a couple of weeks ago, it stands at 11 today. We live in a small community. When a business closes, odds are I know the family who owned it. I likely ate there or shopped there myself. I spent years trying to help small businesses thrive. Now I am doing everything I can to save lives. We must do all we can to make our island healthy again. Our economy cannot be built by sacrificing the health of our community. We lost 5 innocent people to this virus. We are acting immediately so 5 more people don't pay that price. Now is not the time to divide our island. Now is the time to unite and fight together. I ask the Chamber to heed this call. Jeff Jones, what's your response to that?
Well, I think it's important to understand that the governor does have a responsibility to make sure that the health and welfare of the island is intact. However, you know, we had a gradual, from PCOR 3, PCOR 2, PCOR 1. I'd much rather see us go, from PCOR 3 to PCOR 2, rather than from PCOR 3 to PCOR 1. From what I understand, most of the transmissions and most of the cases have been linked to large gatherings. And I think that it would have been probably a more measured approach is to focus on those areas that the cases have been traced to, the gatherings and those type of things, maybe the bars, if that was one of the areas. But look at a measured approach so that we don't shut it down right away. If that doesn't work, then go back to PCOR 1. But going from PCOR 3 all the way to PCOR 1, I think was extreme. I understand that, we have to take a look at the hospitalization rate. But, I think we have 83, from what I understand, we have 83 designated beds. I think that there's 11 or 12 of those are utilized now. I know we had like 75 ventilators. So I think, and we even have the capacity to go to 200 with the help of the military. So I think that we have lots of capacity there. And I think that we just need to take a step back and look at doing a more measured approach rather than so extreme measures.
All right, let me go to John Titano because I can see from his face that he has a lot to say. And John, I used to go to your store, Java Junction, and unfortunately, you recently announced that you will be closing. What's your response to what the governor has ordered?
I have that letter. I have that bulletin. I read the bulletin. I understand the bulletin, and I understand her position as the governor of Guam. Right. However, with all due respect, I also agree with what Jeff Jones is saying. We did a gradual decrease. Why couldn't we do a gradual increase to show we've done our part? The private sector has done our part. We started as a small Chamorro business in 2009. We picked up this business from a previous owner that opened the doors in 2003. So the company has been in business for quite a while. We pride ourselves on providing high quality products and coffee. No disrespect to J1 there, but the competition out there is great. What we did at Java Junction was we created a client base. I felt that was just an awesome group to become associated with. We initiated with Christine also that the rising of the BPT. We got hit 3 times. They rose the BPT, they rose the minimum wage, and then they told us how we had to operate. That is completely unacceptable. As a small Chamorro businessman, we cannot operate with a normal capacity of 50 to go down to 25. What are we going to do with the other 25 people that want to come into the coffee shop? We've done a lot in that coffee shop, and we've got zero help from the government. I'm sorry I have to say it like that, but it's what I believe. You know, my kids have put a tremendous pride into our operations. We've made all kinds of relationships with this coffee shop. It tore us apart to have to even close based on what the government had requested us to do. We did what we had to do, but we could not and we cannot survive with that kind of limitations. The other thing, and I just want to make it clear, you know, that as far as the administration is concerned, I'm sorry, you know, I wish they would call me and ask me, hey, John, what do you think? You know, because I'm a retiree and I do the coffee shop. Our family did the coffee shop on the side. We picked this baby up from an awesome individual, you know, and we kept that flow going. And I know each and every one of you have been to our coffee shop. We miss it. We've been closed now for what, 3 months? But man, it's been a terrible impact on us, both psychologically and physically. I mean, I miss it. I really miss it, you know, and I know that we may not have contributed millions of dollars to the economy, but we kept ourselves floating and we kept the economy going. And I'm sorry, you know, the administration just does not look to the little tomorrow businessman. They're closing daily. They're closing daily. Some of the bigger medium ones are starting to close. Who will infuse the money necessary for our economy to sustain itself? So I think I better leave some time for everybody else because I know everybody else has a lot of stuff they need to say. But thank you, Nestor, and thank you, Christine. Thank you, Chamber of Commerce, for your stance. I think this created a division rather than bringing us together. We need something that would bring Inafpa Maulik and bring us all together to work together so that we can build this economy to where it was back in January. Thank you very much, everybody.
Yeah, thank you, John. Appreciate your candor. Monty, let me go to you. I think one of the things that the governor said, and one of the reasons why she chose to bypass PCOR2 to go to PCOR1, and she was asked about it at the press conference, and she said that PCOR2 would take too long. We need to nip this in the bud right now. In other words, short-term pain for long-term gain. How do you respond to that, Monty?
Well, I agree to that statement. I think all of us are being very cautious and proceeding with care and with concern of this particular virus, which is very invisible because all of us may have it. It's just a degree of how we're being affected by it. But I think I read, you know, the Department of Public Health and Social Service guidelines that was updated from April, or when we started back in March. And I know that everybody is learning through this process, even us at both GPO and 2 months ends. And I see that they've made some adjustments. I mean, I looked at the total detail of the breakdown, and they do allow, and I think they listened as well, that we didn't want a total shutdown. I didn't see that they made that action in this particular move after putting out the detailed breakdown of that guideline. It allowed some of our tenants to operate. and we're looking at that. A lot of our tenants are seeing if they can be flexible enough to do the curbside and allow a non-essential retail operations to continue to operate. We did ask that it has to be a balanced approach. And I think, again, lessons learned, things are starting to be that way, although it is a little slow in taking action. But I see that it based on their guidelines now that they've put it out and reading through it, it allows for all businesses to be able to open as long as they follow strict guidance with limiting the in-person contact. Now, we understand that other essential business that have been determined to open sooner, we see that, okay, today as well, they've gotten better. And we hope they continue to get better as we continue moving forward with this particular situation. And even at our place at GPO and TSP, I mean, we've adjusted. We're continuing to adjust, and we're adjusting to this new protocols that have been put up in the new guidelines. I've advocated that, yes, we should continue to try and balance this approach and continue our economy to grow back. And yes, this temporary 2-week suspension of some of the businesses, it really impacts the momentum. And yesterday was the first day it happened. I've observed it. I've gone to both 2 Month Sands and GPO. And wow, we're back to square one, even though we're allowed to open some of our restaurants at 2 Month Sands. And we appreciate all the people that have come in to order their food or pick up their food or order online and pick up. But it was slow. I mean, just because, yes, we support reducing the spread of this virus. No question about that. Also at GPO, I mean, we're open at the food court. I want to make that clear. We are open for business in the businesses that are allowed to open. And we are working with some of our tenants who can go into curbside business. And most of our tenants do have a back door. So we're looking at that, studying that, and following the prescribed guidelines. Because of course, we do not want any of our employees, and thank God, up to this point, for the last 4 months, we have 1,200 employees between GPO and 2 Month Sands. And luckily, and I hope it continues, that none have reported any COVID interaction in their employee base or in their families, immediate families at home. We're tracking this, and I agree that we really need to not just listen to the medical side of the advisors, because they overshot their projections from day one. That is a fact. And that is a number that, scared a lot of people. It scared me. But I said, well, okay, we will cooperate. But none of what they prescribed was true or became true. And I support, wow, God blessed us. God blessed us all. We didn't come to that point. Yes, 5 deaths is one too many. I've said that from day one. And I have to compliment the administration that, okay, we're all in this learning as we go, and they've done a great job, I think, on the medical side, keeping it down. But now, if you have a sick community, then yes, you can say you have a sick economy, but you gotta get the economy growing back. And we have to have both operating the same way. It can work together. We can't make it one-sided. And I agree that taking it back to PCOR1, yes, it is drastic, but I'm glad that they made some adjustments, because we are going to work through that. It's only a 2-week period, but I'm hoping that, again, this is lessons learned, that the next time it happens, that, again, looking at everything that's happened now, only 25% at best are infected, based on all the statistics that they've produced from day one. We are punishing 85% of the community who are following what needs to be done. And this is something that I try to say, okay, we got to balance this thing out. And we've got to look at both ends of the spectrum and not one-sided. And I think that's something that I think they've taken some steps to consider. We are not, based on the guidelines that they've put out, we're not totally closed. We have to adjust and work within those confines, and understanding that, yes, we need to reduce that spread. And the one thing that I compliment them again is, they've done more testing. I've advocated that from day one. We have to have tests. And granted, it took time, but now they're doing it. And I'm glad that the other medical facilities, clinics are getting involved. She has the money. The federal government has given us the money to eradicate this as much as we can within our island. I hope that that money is used wisely to continue to do the testing and make sure that we get rid of this invisible virus in our community. So
right,
that's,
let me go to
that's where I see.
Yeah, thanks, Monty. Let me give Jay Dewan a shot here. Go ahead, Jay, and give us your point of view as the owner of Portamoca.
Good morning, everyone, and I want to thank the Chamber of Commerce for the efforts that they're making to address the issues to the government and to bring into light what's going on a regular basis. It's very important. So from a business perspective, and I speak also for myself and for many other of my business friends in the community, first thing first, I'm gonna say something that no one talks about is lost revenue. Businesses are losing revenue every day being closed. Since March, even during the closure period and during the slowdown period, what's going on at the moment, and even while we were open in PCOR1 and or PCOR3 with the slowdown, we're still losing revenue. Businesses are losing revenue across the board, and that revenue is irreplaceable. That's one thing no one talks about, and I have brought it up many times, that lost revenue, sales that you lose, revenue, profits that you lose will never come back. You cannot replace that. That's something that, again, I want to say it's like no one understands or brings that up. So lost revenue, first of all, is irreplaceable. Businesses will never catch up and make that back, and they've lost hundreds of thousands of dollars to probably more for some businesses since March. Second, knowing that you lose revenue, you still have rents to pay. Commercial leases are not cheap. My landlord's here on the Zoom meeting, and he knows commercial leases, you have rents, common area maintenance fees, and other fees and utilities, because some businesses have refrigeration and so forth running. So you still have utilities running. So you have rents, common area, utilities, that are the meter's still running on those, and you have those big bills to pay. So you're losing revenue because of closing, and you're losing revenue because of the slowdown period, because consumers are made to be afraid, so they don't come out, they resort to online shopping. So losing revenues, and then you have the landlord sending you rent statements and invoices to get paid. And then you got taxes from the previous month that are due. So I don't understand how shutting down businesses is going to fix that problem of revenue loss and rents accumulating. I don't understand how the government can shut businesses down. Unless the governor is ready to pay for our rents, then might as well, we don't mind shutting down. But if no one's gonna pay our rents, then you can't dictate to shut down.
Well, Jay, if I can push back on that a little bit, I think it's not a correct argument to say that the governor is, what she said is she's trying to do is make the island healthy again, so that you will have customers to go to your store. Now, if they aren't healthy, they're not going to go, and if they don't feel it's healthy, they're not going to go. So I just wanted to push back a little bit on that. Let me move on to you, Christine. So do you think that the governor is doing what is in the best interests of the people of Guam? Because as John said, I think it was John who said that this is a community that's divided. There are still very, very many people that are very fearful of this pandemic. And in fact, the lieutenant governor said during Friday that they believe the majority of people prefer that there be a shutdown. So first of all, what is the chamber's position on whether the governor is doing the right thing? And secondly, and this will go to all of you guys, what do you think she should do then?
So, I mean, I believe the governor is making the best decision she feels is necessary to protect the community. And, you know, sort of an opinion on whether it's the absolute right thing or not is always going to vary from your perspective, right? And so from the business community's perspective, obviously, you know, we're not in agreement because it has already decimated, you know, a great many businesses that are not going to reopen again. And, you know, as we've talked about, you know, we had hoped for a measured approach, for, you know, a gradual closing, a targeted closing, if you will, particularly. And, you know, we came out in support of her when she targeted funerals, bars, and areas that had been known to be a source of contamination or virus spread. One of the things that we've been saying is, you know, until a vaccine is found, we have to find a way to live with this virus. We have to find a way to be able to move on, balancing the needs of health and safety versus, you know, the need for people to be working and to be, you know, productive in our society. Because, you know, again, going back to what is that threshold? Because we established triggers for those thresholds, and, you know, it doesn't seem that we're following those thresholds, but we need to understand at what point those critical levels are met. Because if we talk about critical care, we're not there at the hospital. Yes, you know, there's ICU patients, there's 11 overall, but when you look at the overall capacity, you know, we still have that capacity in there. Public health is doing a good job in contact tracing. The positive rates, you know, again, we talked about 10%, now 5%, now we're, you know, at 3%. So what is that threshold so we as a community can plan? Because we open up again, then, you know, people get lax 2 months from now, we shut down again. I mean, it's just this vicious cycle that we're in. And we had to be able to establish those parameters that we can have some sense of normal life. You know, it's not normal to the normal that I don't think we're going to go back to where we started from until this virus has a vaccine. And so how do we live with it, and how do we continue to be productive and support our economy while balancing? I want to again reiterate, the vast majority of businesses has done their part. They've put in those safety protocols. They have put up the necessary guidelines. You know, and again, going back to, you know, I've heard the comment that, oh, well, I've gone to establishments and they're not following it. Please report them, because it penalizes the rest of the community, the rest of the businesses that are following diligently and implementing those guidelines. And so, you know, we've always advocated for a balanced approach. You know, the safety and well-being of our community is, you know, always at the forefront, but we need a balance, because these people that are losing their jobs are having to wait hours in line to be able to get food to feed their children. You know, what does that do to a person? You know, I mean, do they feel, I mean, who's the vast majority that wants to keep these closures and us locked into our homes? Is it those that continue to get paychecks, while the rest of those that don't have the ability to earn their money and go and buy food for their kids? You know, are they supporting a complete shutdown? So, you know, I think we have to be careful, and I don't think there's a right answer as to whether it's the absolute right thing or not, because again, it comes from perspective. And so, you know, we just hope, you know, after this 2-week shutdown, you know, and things get under control, that we can work with the administration and work as a community together for a balanced approach.
All right, thanks, Chris. Jeff, I think you were the one who mentioned earlier about the measured, targeted approach. Obviously, the horse has left the barn. Do you think that the governor is going to pull back at this point, and how would you convince her to do so?
Well, I think she's made her decision, and I understand that. I think we have to live with that. My concern is last time we were going to flatten the curve for 2 weeks, it ended up being 8 weeks. I hope we're not looking at the same thing again. As far as what I would do differently, well, one of the first things I would do is do testing at the airport. She even admitted that most of the cases are travel related, but we still don't have testing at the airport for incoming passengers. You know, we put them into quarantine and then test them a few days later. But, you know, if we look to our north, our Saipan neighbor, they've started testing in the airport for months, and they still, I think that they've only had 50 cases to date because of, I think that's one of the reasons, is they have caught it at the border and not allowed it to spread. So I think that's one thing that we could have done and we should have done and we should still do, is to try to, we've got all this federal funding for testing. Let's put some of those machines at the airport and test the incoming passengers and catch it before it spreads in the community. So that's one thing I would do. The other thing is that, we do have a robust contact tracing crew, and we need to just continue to use them to trace down where all this spread is happening and shut it down at those places. At most businesses that I've been in, have been very diligent in their sanitation and their PPE protections. And I think that most of the cases that are ending up in the businesses are coming from the community. They're not starting there and being spread from the businesses. It's just the opposite. The community spread is coming into the business. And even then they close down, clean and open up again. But I can tell you that there's no business besides, maybe the grocery stores and some of those that are making money right now. If you're at a restaurant or another facility at 50% capacity, you just can't make any money that way. Plus, we don't have any of the tourists here, which make up, probably a third of our customers that come to these businesses. And some of the businesses, it makes up 100% of the customers. So I think it's not just a business thing. People look and say, oh, you're just worried about your business. Well, we're worried about our employees. We're fortunate. We have several essential businesses, but we still have had to furlough 200 employees since this thing has started. And we're concerned about those people. We're able to get most of them on the PUA and the FPUC, thankfully. But the FPUC is now done, and now they have to rely on the PUA. And if you take the amount of the PUA, which is $345 a week, divide that by 40 hours, it's less than minimum wage. So for people who say, oh, they can rely on the pandemic unemployment assistance, that's not true, because, as our governor has said, and as legislature has said, that's not a living wage. And that's the reason they've increased the minimum wage. For the same reason, the PUA is not a minimum wage. So most of the assistance that we've received as businesses and the island here has been from the federal government, not from the local government. We've continued to see the BPT at 5%. That hasn't been reduced. Only thing that was done was we were given a deferral for 3 months. So instead of having to pay it in April, May, and June, we deferred it and had to pay it all in July. So, that didn't help, but except to defer the payment into one big balloon payment in July. So, I think most businesses are just frustrated because we try to get things rolling again, and then we get knocked back, not one step, but 2 steps. So I would just say that I'd really like to see more of a measured approach based on facts and not on fear. I think that we've had a lot of fear in the community. And I think that these shutdowns, although are effective, they also are effective in generating a lot more fear in the community about the spread. We have a moving target. We've been given these targets and about, the 3%, the 5%, the negativity rate, deaths, all these things, hospitalization rate, but the targets keep changing. So it's really hard to manage, plan, and project what's going to happen in the future. I mean, we're at 3% positivity rate now, which is double what we were. But I think the U.S. as a whole is at 7 or 8%. So I think we're still doing a great job here. And I think that we just need to be more diligent in closing down the sources and not just closing everything down.
Yeah, point well taken there, Jeff, on certainty, because if there's one thing that businesses do not thrive on is uncertainty. Before I get to John, Monty, and Jay for final comments, Christine, I just wanted to get the Chamber on record. What is the Chamber's position on following? I know businesses have been doing this and they've been following all of the health protocols, but this whole issue about wearing masks, and I'll be quite frank with you, I've gone to business organization meetings where you walk into the room and if there's 40 people, maybe 20% have masks on in these meetings. So what is the Chamber's position on the wearing of masks? I mean, it's become unfortunately, it's become a political issue in the United States, and some of that is maybe being transferred here to Guam. But I don't think it should be a political issue. I mean, it's like, smoking on an airplane, how it used to be. yeah, you have a right to smoke. You don't have to have a right to smoke when it's affecting me. So can you just say definitively what is the Chamber's position on the wearing of masks in the public?
I think we've, since the beginning, supported and encouraged it. I have likewise seen where meetings happen and masks are not worn because it's muffling the sound, but those people are more than 6 feet apart. They're sanitizing. They put it right back on before they get up and interact. And so, everybody's kind of navigating that new normal. Where I would be concerned is them walking into an establishment without their masks, or going and having face-to-face contact without a mask. I think that's an absolute no-no. So, the Chamber, since the beginning, if you look at even all our posts, has always advocated for wearing masks, maintain the social distancing, wash and sanitize your hands. And we will continue to advocate for that because we, hold up to the responsibility that we have and the community has to do their part. We cannot stop the spread of this virus without maintaining those social protocols. Those safety protocols. And so, we absolutely support it. We absolutely ask everybody to continue to practice the three, I think they call it the 3 W's: wash your hands, wear your mask, and what is the third W for social distancing? So we support it.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay. And so we got John, Monty, and Jay. I'll give you about a minute each to just wrap up. Give us your best message to convince the governor. PCOR1, can you either reverse it or find out some other solution going forward? Go ahead, John.
Thank you, Nestor. And thank you, members of the Chamber. I'm honored and humbled to be a part of this particular group. It's a good feeling. One of the things I would suggest to the governor is, there's this place across the pond, it's called Las Vegas, and their product is the same product we have. It's tourism, and rather than shut down the whole entire industry, what they've done is they've shut down hotspots. They have enforcement that goes out, shuts them down, and doesn't allow them to reopen until they've adhered to the rules. I think, if we could take that approach. I like Jeff's approach also, where you do it methodically and not all in one shot. And the other thing I just want to say also is what Jay spoke about, and that's expenses. These expenses that we've had, inventory, power, water, rental, and all this, these are real expenses that we cannot shoulder as a result of no customers coming in. So I just want to thank the Chamber once again. Thank you, Nestor. Thank you, KOAM, for providing this opportunity for us, to come out and express to the public what we feel, because we really feel that this created division. We really feel that what they did was not provide any type of help to the small tomorrow businessman. And that needs to be looked at because we're out here by ourselves and we are a big contribution to our island economy. Thank you once again all and have a great day.
Thanks, John. Go ahead, Monty.
No, thank you again for allowing this opportunity. But I believe that there's adjustments that need to be made. This is a learning experience for all of us. Nobody has said anything in terms of, this being a situation that we all need to work together in coming up with a balanced approach. And I asked the governor to, again, have her committee look at it closely. You got to go out to the different businesses to see what they're doing. If you don't see it, you're not going to know. And they need to really zero down on those businesses that are not following the proper protocols. I think that if they go out and look at all the business, I think the ones that I've seen so far, I don't go to too many places, but the ones that I've seen are doing the right things. And as far as masks is concerned, I support, I make my own, my wife makes my mask. Every day I have a different mask. And, it's the only way to protect yourself. And I think really when I look at what the governor is trying to do is, of course, limiting the congregation. And I think people that go out to conduct business is not a congregation. It's a process of people wanting to transact for their daily lives. And I think it's true that, you know, the business is not the contributor necessarily with all these spreading. But I think it's a lot of just the social gathering that's happening outside of the business transaction process. And I think moving forward, I hope that they would make some adjustments again. They made an attempt, but it's still impacting the economy. It's still impacting the concerns that have been raised by Jay and the concerns that are raised by John in terms of, you know, we're losing revenue. That there's no question about that. And it's hard, you know, for the last 4 months that, you know, we were just starting to get back up a little bit. You know, we were targeting to have 50% of our local people out, but they're not there. 50% of the people that we've targeted to come back to our businesses is not happening because there is a fear. There's no question, there is still a fear. But we hope that, again, the governor really has the financial and development committee really look at it, because money that you put into GIDA, there's still a lot of money left. We still need to get that out to additionally support those businesses that already have been supported. Maybe they still need another helping hand. And I think that's something that needs to be looked at. I've supported that idea, and I'm glad that, you know, she put some money into GIDA to put these grants out. I think that can go further. If there's still money left over in that account, I think that money should go out and encourage the small businesses like Jay and John to come out and apply a second time or a third time, for as long as the money is continuing to be there and you're continuing to restrict our business activity. That's something that needs to be considered, because yes, the small businesses need a lot of help. Thank you.
All right, and Jay, and thank you, Monty. And Jay, you're going to get the final word this morning. Go ahead, my friend.
Okay, well, I wanna say that we need to open up Guam, I would say effective tomorrow. Another day lost in revenue is not what businesses need, and waiting out a 2-week period or thinking about it is just causing more revenue loss. This virus wants to get out. It wants herd immunity. Prolonging the inevitable is just hurting businesses. You can suppress it. What worked in March, what did not work in March, from March 20th to May 11th is not gonna work now. If it didn't work in March to May, it's not gonna work now. Shutting it down again is just gonna have it springboard back in October or so. So doing the same thing again is not helping, obviously. So the virus wants herd immunity. It's gonna get it no matter what. Now, people can do their precautionary measures. Of course, wear the mask, you know, the 3 W's, wear a mask, watch your distance, and wash your hands or use sanitizer. And those people who want to take extra precautions, they have the choice to stay home and not go out. But don't shut businesses down for making other people follow what they should on their own. We're all adults. Businesses are owned by adults. We know what we're doing. And like Monty said, this virus is being transferred or caught elsewhere at parties or barbecues, at gatherings. It's not being caught at businesses. So don't penalize businesses, because we are doing what we were told to do. So further shutting down is just creating a depressed business economy. It's not a magical solution that businesses or economy will come back automatically and everything will be fine and dandy. It's not how it works. Business and always looking outside of our island for investors to come in is not the solution. Think about the businesses that are here, like Jeff, like John and myself and others in the community. Look at us to invest on Guam. We can invest here. We're here. We know the market. We can do more here. We don't need to look elsewhere. But you got to take care of the people that are here first. Take care of the businesses that are investing here first. You make them lose confidence in the island, and that's it. We'll put the brakes on. We won't expand any further. or downsize or so forth. So shutting down is not conducive for a business atmosphere. Just let the 3 W's take their course, and people who want to stay home can stay home and open up. I say, Governor, open up tomorrow. Thank you.
All right, thank you there. That'll conclude this edition of Info Zoom. Jay Dewan, Monty Mesa, John Titano, Jeff Jones, and Christine Boleto representing the business community and the Chamber of Commerce. Thank you so much for sharing your points of view. All right, everyone, you're quite welcome. Appreciate you being here. Everyone, we're going to close out the link this morning because, in case you didn't know, we did have a positive test in the newsroom. So Chris and Bree are getting tested right now.